Hello guys, it's Alex here, and today we are gonna talk about my war defense for the new season. As you see, it's here, Galactic Confrontation. So shall we? So this season is a very slight change. You can see my defense in the back from the previous season. Basically, they just removed Illuminati from defense that they weren't great there anyways. They added Starjammers, they added Quasar, and they removed a little bit of buff for Astral. They were giving them buff also before, not just a 30% if it's a full team. I think it was another 30% just for Astral members. I'm not sure. Uh, but very small differences, no differences in the room. So let's see my defense, which doesn't really take into account, because if you see all these teams here, Annihilators, Astral, Starjammer, beside X-Men maybe, like the three, and Infestation is a very bad team. If you have them very big, maybe put them in the last spot, but no defensive victories for Infestation, just some value for people that already build them, like a little bit better stats. So Annihilators, Astral, and even Starjammers are better as a hybrid. Maybe in smaller levels, lower levels of war, maybe those teams, just by their sheer size and by people not being very familiar with many ways how to counter them and not having built a lot of war offense teams, maybe it's better, especially for Starjammers that aren't a lot better by the team I'm gonna show you. So number one, we have here Alpha Flight America Chavez. It's a little bit of a better version for Alpha Flight. Very rarely gets defensive victories anymore. But I've tried replacing Sunfire in here and I haven't come up with something better. So they're staying as they are because I have built them at some point for 8. Here, number 2, we have Taskmaster with new stats as a raider. He does a lot of damage, or see if you go by the movie. We have Kessel in there because if you don't have Kessel, an opponent can go in with their Underworld and demolish you. So with Kessel, they don't summon, and Taskmaster gives speed bar by Underworld members, which also includes the summons. So your Taskmaster will go first now with Kessel in there if the opponents will go in with their straight Underworld. Adjacent to security, so Kessel will ping. And also you have Green Goblin Ultimate, where he puts out different sounds. Basically, Taskmaster will go very fast, has a lot of stats, is a raider. Somebody will try to go in maybe with a counter steal that is not taking into account the rework stats and get them all. That's what I'm hoping here. Probably at some point I will remove this defense and try to make a Thunderbolt team for offense, and then I probably will put something like the last that I have here that I'm not even using on offense. Yes, like Secret Defenders Quicksilver that is getting some defensive victories, or some bad, like of my worst war offense teams maybe will go in here, like New Avengers that now still have the buff as Avengers, so no, not for this season. Maybe Sinister Six or like Weapon X or like Gamma. One of those teams are those teams are subject to go on defense. There are maybe even Alpha Flight if I deem it's better, but probably not because I have some offensive uses still. But something like this will replace. But I like Taskmaster now going very fast and doing a lot of damage. I brought him to 3 diamonds. Yeah. Number 3, we have Cosmic Rider elsewhere. We have Weaver in there that can be annoying with this team. And yeah, maybe at some point we'll try to find a different home for Black Knight because he probably has better uses, and this team is stat crept a lot by uh, post-Ari stats, not even taking into account overpower that I'm not bringing with them to 105. I don't like that. So uh, maybe at some point I will just also move my Black Knight and put one of the other teams in there. I don't think it will be a lot better. Number 4, we have Infinity Watch. Infinity Watch has Moondragon is the same thing basically with Underworld, but I know this works. Underworld is not that long on defense for me as they are with the reworks. Infinity Watch has gotten me some defensive victory because people, for once, they try to go in with counters that used to work for Infinity Watch. But now they are overpowered, especially by Moondragon, which will destroy them. And like something like A-Force, like the old A-Force. There are many different teams that people used to work on Infinity Watch and may not work with Overpower or may not work with Moondragon having the stats as he got reworked for Asal, even like Pegasus people used to use a lot and it doesn't work anymore with Moondragon. So this is a team I have built. They have safeguard, immunity, and stuff on spawn, so maybe Moondragon will do the job, and sometimes he does. Or overpower. Then you have Spider Society. I have them on 1 of 5, most of them. They're not really working for me on defense, but it's a team that I have built. They kind of big. I think there's something with kill still in the season. The previous was for sure. Bio allies, it says. Get an additional offense up. That's not bad. We have some bio allies in here with a Spider Side is 3 bio. So you kind of hoping maybe Overpower will stop some teams that used to work, or just a big team that I have here, and maybe it will get some defense. Also, at least pull a decent team. So here I have my Starjammers, and next to it you see what I did with Havoc. So basically, I was thinking putting them together just for the stats, but I faced it in the previous war that was with the live stats, and honestly, it's still a very bad defense. So at least here, this I have for a while on defense, and almost like more than half the wars, it's getting me defensive victories. Basically here, not overpower, this one here. So the reason I have Starlord here is Guardian allies gain 30% damage and 20% speed. So Rocket is relatively quick, and not quick, but I think 116 or something like this. If he also gets the speed stat, he goes fast. He puts a taunt on Groot, and then it's annoying. Also having extra 30% damage on Guardian is very nice. You have Lilandra and have Howard here that with Groot getting a taunt can be very annoying. Groot, when he gets hit, he puts out slows. So this is a team that is catching people off guard. I don't know if they're just using counters that are working on Starjammers and aren't with a speed stat, because they're a slow team. The full team is a slow team. They're easily beaten by B-tier war teams. It's not like they can't get defensive victories, but by people that are ignorant on war, basically they can. Having the 30% speed stat makes it a little bit more interesting, makes it some counters a little bit more difficult, because they take, usually war offensives are very fast and have either speed up on spawn or speed bar on spawn or both, uh, maybe Smith's that to some degree. So they go very fast and try to kill everyone. So the whole team takes turns before you, at least one turn, maybe two even, in some cases. So Starjammers are not good looking well by speed, and Star-Lord changes that a little bit. If he stays alive, he may give some energy out. He also gives to Guardians. He might put a vulnerable with summoning move. He calls in two assists, I think. One Guardian and one a random. So other people that have the stats will assist him and do damage. So he can do some other things in there, but mainly he's for the speed and for the damage a little bit. So in number 7 we have an X-Men team. I don't remember pulling a defensive victory for that, but you have Havoc pinging a lot is annoying. He works with X-Men while the other Starjammers don't do anything outside of their team. They have big stats. They have the buffs now for X-Men. I'm not using them on offense. So maybe someone will get overpowered or use a team that is not very reliable. Even like if you go in with new Avengers, yes, because you have still stats for attacking Avenger allies, and they are. If there's a big punch up, they can lose from an X-Men team like this. So yeah. Rule number 8. This team is holding against Liberty. You cannot beat this with Liberty. Maybe you can if you have 3 diamonds on everyone and a lot of G20s. But if I see this, and I haven't seen this yet, Liberty beating this, I will just put like 2 diamonds on Doom, and we'll be on the same place. And Odin will soon get to 1 diamond, so... And at some point, we can have our own G20 characters in there, besides Thanos that is already there. So this team works against Liberty, it works against Mighty Avengers. That's good enough for me. You need to be theorycraft to create a smart team. There are not cheap teams, but not extremely expensive, like cheaper teams than Liberty that can beat this. But people may have not faced this, or they may have used the tools, or may have something on defense. So here you have a team that is getting me a lot of defensive victories, because if you go in with Liberty, if you don't rewind Gore will get the assist from Odin, and Odin will get, because he has a higher speed stat, and Odin will get his battlefield effect off. If you rewind Gore, he's with a Falcon Joaquin special, he's adjacent to Doom, and Doom usually against Falcon Joaquin, because he doesn't do much damage with his special, especially if he's not at diamonds. Doom gets hit by the special. I think he also gets a Peggy Ping, but afterwards. So he gets hit by Falcon special, Falcon Joaquin, and he drops under 50% but doesn't die. So even if he gets a ping there and gets a slow, he has gotten his speed bar. He gets a speed bar. He goes before any other Liberty member. He gives speed bar, I think, to Odin. And yeah, you're done then. So even if it was like Thanos Endgame, you're done basically. Yeah. So this Liberty doesn't work in this. I have tried it offensively. I have practiced it a lot. Other people in my alliance have the same defense. Liberty doesn't work. I have had this work in war practice doing punch downs, but then you just need to have a bigger Doom, that's it. Room number 9, this team works great, it's getting me a lot of defensive victories. You can beat this with Vigilante. If you use full Vigilante, you beat this. I don't know if people don't know that, or they're using Vigilante elsewhere. This stops a lot of normal astral counters, like if it's a team, like Apocalypse with Cabal or something like this, or some Undying teams. This stops that with a Cosmic Ghost Rider in there. I just brought him to 105, he also won't get overpowered and die quickly. And put his unique piece on, which gives him a lot of stats. So he will survive longer. It's already getting me a lot of defensive victories. I now have the 1 diamond on the Shadow King. So yeah, they're getting less stats now, especially when they're not together. But this works a lot better than Asel. Asel gets destroyed. And if this is still getting me a lot of defensive victories, people haven't figured out that Vigilante works. I'm still keeping this here. It's actually one of my best war defenses. It gets pretty much every war get defensive victories, because people just, maybe even they just don't take into account that there is a Cosmic Strider there. They say, Astral, I use my Astral counter and they lose. And number 10, I have a Absolute A-Force with a Super Skull and Dormammu. You can make this stronger with something like a Mephisto in there, or Odin. I like having the Odin team, because you have a very strong team that in number 8. Mephisto team still has very slightly more expensive counters than number 10 that I have here. Number 10 can work against Liberty. It's not reliable that you use Liberty, because they revive once, they can take a turn and mess you up. This works against, it calls against Mighty Avengers, so this is getting me defensive victories. It's not the best Absolute A-Force team to have on defense, but you can have a great team at room number 8. And at least the level I'm playing, people don't reliably clear this up, don't know reliably how to beat this. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't, sometimes they use Liberty and hope they beat it, because this can win against Liberty, or maybe they just kill a couple of members. It's generally the nature of the 3-piece Absolute A-Force. That's how it tends to work. And I don't need to crazy hybridize it. I already have Super Skull in there. And Dormammu definitely boosts this up. Makes it a little bit harder than having like a Wasp in there. So that's the team. I'm gonna very quickly show the offensive teams that I have. I'm not gonna comment on them too much. Like Vigilante, you have a Null team that I'm not usually using like this, but sometimes. Liberty, Orkis, I have my fish on offense that I'm using sometimes with teams like this. My Avengers, Night Shockers, Undying Iris, next for money, that's putting the diamonds on Old Man Logan did absolutely nothing. I was waiting so long for that, but the moment they brought it, they are useless on him. There's basically no value added. Then you have this team that beats straight Astral, the X-Men team. I may put something like this on defense, because sometimes it doesn't work against that well against Astral, especially before I had at G11, at Overpower 11, Gear Tier 20, my Omega Red Phoenix Force, or people hybridizing Astral. Then you have Illuminati. Illuminati could also go on defense, but they beat Orkis, so. Then Gamma, Weapon X, Superior 6, Mighty, no, New Avengers, and then you have a team like this here that beat Astral. And I think I didn't count them now, they're like 15, 16 offensive team, I think they're 15. So you have a little bit of flexibility, but usually I'm not using the whole team as they are. If I do reliably, maybe I put something else on defense, but they're not really better than what I have now. So I think I gave you a balanced view. Rooms here aren't really worth leaning into too much. You have the stats on Starjammer 20% besides having the full team. Only X-Men teams. As a new player, I would put a couple of, like 2-3 X-Men defensive teams. Okay, good luck everyone for the new season of War.